A huge protest in Hong Kong. 1 million people on the streets. They're protesting a proposed extradition law, but Hong Kong's leader won't back down. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This was Hong Kong on Sunday. Not a good day for commuters, especially because the subways looked like this, which makes my daily commute to Manhattan seem like walking on sunshine. I never thought I'd miss the A train. Organizers in Hong Kong said more than 1 million people hit the streets on Sunday. They're protesting Hong Kong's controversial extradition bill. If the bill gets passed, it would allow Chinese authorities to order Hong Kong authorities to arrest and deport suspected criminals to mainland China. This is a big deal because a lot of so-called crimes in mainland China are not crimes in Hong Kong or other free countries. Crimes like wanting more democracy and rule of law, or being a Catholic bishop. The version of the bill on the Hong Kong legislature's website says the extradition bill applies only to crimes that are punishable in Hong Kong with imprisonment for more than 3 years. But because of pressure, at the end of May, Hong Kong's Secretary of Security said they would change the threshold to crimes punishable only by 7 years or more. And then everyone was like, okay, that sounds reasonable. Problem solved, everyone. Nothing to worry about. Just kidding. People are still unhappy because that doesn't change the fundamental problem with the bill. The fundamental problem is that Hong Kongers don't trust Beijing, and by extension, they no longer trust the Hong Kong government. A lot of Hong Kongers believe the bill itself is simply the first step in the Chinese Communist Party's larger plan to water down Hong Kong's freedoms and rule of law, so Hong Kong eventually operates like the rest of China, with arbitrary arrests. And torture. Who could forget torture? Hong Kong's really been missing out on the torture that mainland Chinese dissidents enjoy every day. Of course, when the Chinese Communist Party forced the UK to turn over Hong Kong to China in 1997, they signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration. It promised 50 years no change, meaning the Communist Party would not infringe on Hong Kong's laws for at least 50 years. But this extradition bill is a clear violation of that promise. Not that we didn't see it coming. 2 years ago, Chinese authorities officially stated their intention to completely disregard that declaration. But what is a surprise is just how many people came out to protest the extradition bill. 1 million people is a lot, especially in a city of only 7 million people. It was by far the biggest protest in Hong Kong since it was handed over to China in 1997. So obviously the most important question Chinese authorities are asking is, who's behind this massive disruption of social harmony? Fortunately, state-run media has the answer. According to China Daily, it's hostile foreign forces. They're seizing the opportunity to advance their own strategy to hurt China by trying to create havoc in Hong Kong. Now, state-run media doesn't specifically name who those foreign forces are, but I'm going to assume they're referring to me. Well, me and the CIA. That's right, United Front groups and pro-Chinese Communist Party media have accused random foreigners in Hong Kong of being part of the CIA. Take it from me, those guys are not in the CIA. And what's even better is that I've heard from a very reliable source in Hong Kong that none of the guys circled in those photos are even American. So the CIA isn't part of the foreign forces, but I'm going to assume that I still am. Although I can't take all the credit, because it was more than just a few China Uncensored fans in Hong Kong who joined Sunday's ginormous march. And it was more than just students and activists who were the bulk of the 2014 umbrella protests. This protest also included many ordinary Hong Kongers. According to this poll, a third of the marchers had never protested before. The extradition bill has even riled up many of Hong Kong's elite. Business people who feel that Hong Kong's rule of law is critical to the future of their corporate interests. Even lawyers participated, following a smaller lawyers' protest last week. So basically, a huge cross-section of Hong Kong, including a lot of influential people, feel the extradition bill could affect them. And that's what makes this different from many of the other protests Hong Kong has seen over the last 20 years. It means everyone's angry now. And it's a big challenge to Hong Kong's leadership, especially Chief Executive Carrie Lam, who's the equivalent of Hong Kong's governor. On Monday, she defended the extradition bill.
I have not received any instruction or mandate from Beijing to do this bill.
Wait, She didn't receive any instructions from Beijing? She just decided on her own that it would be a good idea to let the Communist Party run roughshod over Hong Kong's rule of law? So you're telling me this meme is not accurate? I mean, if I were in Carrie Lam's shoes, I would have been like, yeah, Beijing totally made me do it. I really don't understand why she'd throw herself under the bus. But I guess this is why she's so unpopular, and why protesters are specifically calling on her to resign over the bill. This protest sign says Carrie Lam step down, sponsored by Coca-Cola. And other Hong Kongers decided to get really political with Carrie Lam, you fired. The protest lasted all day and eventually ended in the early hours of Monday morning, when some protesters got a little more aggressive, and police came out with riot gear to clear people out, using pepper spray and threatening to shoot tear gas, which is a nice preview of things to come once Hong Kong's legal system looks more like mainland China. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong legislature responded to the protesters' calls to slow the bill down by speeding it up. And Hong Kongers responded to that by calling for more protests on Wednesday, June 12th, when the bill is due to be read again in the legislature. That's not all, though. Some people are shutting down their businesses on Wednesday because they love the extradition bill so much. And that's a big deal because everyone says that Hong Kongers never stop working. One woman even created a Facebook event saying she's going on a picnic Wednesday at a park right outside the Hong Kong legislature and invited people to join her. And 12,000 people said they would. I mean, who doesn't love a picnic? What's that, Shelley? Apparently, the Hong Kong government doesn't love picnics. They've closed off the public park for maintenance. And they've also closed off the legal protest area right outside the legislature. Somehow, I don't think that's going to stop people from protesting. So what do you think about the Hong Kong protests? Leave your comments below. And before I go, it's time to answer a question from a member of my China Uncensored 50 Cent Army, the fans who support the show through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Natalia Thunderbrook, who asks that we don't use her real name, asks, Chris, how did you come to care so much about China? Why are you a prophet sounding the alarm from the walls, risking the ire of YouTube and the CCP's nefarious agents? Good question. But really, the question is, why shouldn't everyone care about China? The Chinese Communist Party and its nefarious agents are infiltrating so many countries around the world, including the United States. And if that sounds far-fetched, consider this. Name one Hollywood film made in the last 10 years where communist China is portrayed as the enemy. Name one TV news network show that consistently reports on how Chinese state hospitals are killing dissidents for their organs. Name one major tech company that has publicly stated it doesn't want any involvement in China. You probably can't. And that's because many of the elite in the United States have bought into the promise of the China market and are willing to ignore all the terrible things happening there. Now, I'm not claiming I'm some kind of prophet. I just thought it would be fun to stand up to the world's largest and best-funded authoritarian regime using only the power of sarcasm and small contribution from Patreon supporters like you. Thanks for your question. And thank you for watching. If you'd like to support China Uncensored, visit patreon.com/China Uncensored and pledge $1 or more per episode. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored. See you next time.